Alright, so Wonder Woman in 1984 finally came out on HBO Max in theaters. I, of course, saw it on HBO Max because I have a bunch of children. And I did a review on this, so I do have a review up on it that explains my more in depth thoughts on the subject without really spoiling it. I think I did pretty well at skirting around it, but I didn't realize how bad my lighting was when I did the review and posted it on my second channel. It was really rushed the whole time through recording and editing. I didn't notice how bad my lighting was. So that's funny. And then I'll leave a link to that video in this video. I didn't, honestly, this was the movie I was most looking forward to this entire year, and even when my expectations were lowered by like bad CGI cheetah in that one trailer that they dropped much later, I still had, hopes and expectations that were reasonable. But I went in this and I didn't have like overblown high hopes. I didn't. I had lowered expectations because the bad looking cheetah CGI, and I went in there still thinking, this is Wonder Woman. I've been looking for this all year, so I expected to enjoy it, because as much as I enjoyed the first one, this one, however, is a very, very different story. It's pretty cheesy, and that opening scene after the island, you get this really cheesy mall scenes, and beyond that, it's just got all kinds of other problems and issues that surface throughout the film that are pretty eyebrow raising. When it comes to Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman's relationship in this film, and I'll try to avoid. I'll get into some spoilers in just a second, and I'll warn you right before I do. But Wonder Woman 3 is now in jeopardy. Well, I wonder why. I saw some before this dropped on HBO Max. I saw some things that were like questioning whether Patty Jenkins, even herself, was questioning whether or not she'd do a Wonder Woman 3. And before, I had pretty high confidence in Patty Jenkins' ability to do film. So when they announced her for the Star Wars Rogue Squadron movie, I thought, that could be good. Look how she handled Wonder Woman. But Wonder Woman 1984 is a mess. It breaks DCU continuity. The third act is just a sloppy, underwhelming mess. The whole film, to me, is an underwhelming disappointment. A lot of people might not agree with that. A lot of people highly likely won't agree with that. But my review, I made it pretty clear that there's just a lot of bad things on this one. It's pretty cringy and cheesy in certain areas and certain parts. And I realized that they actually wanted that to sort of pay homage or whatever, to nod to like the older Superman movies. But there's just so many things in here. But I will say that it was a very misleading what one reviewer said. That reviewer was suffering from TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome. And I realized that Patty Jenkins and Pedro Pascal have both said something about Trump being an inspiration for the character Maxwell Lord. But that doesn't really come off in the movie, I guess. Perhaps you have to be suffering from Trump Derangement Syndrome, or just be looking too hard for these kinds of things. It doesn't even come off like a feminist preaching type thing either. There are some scenes in there that I thought were out of place and didn't mesh well. The ones with the cat-calling scenes with Kristen Wiig's Cheetah, when she wasn't actually Cheetah. So the cat-calling scenes, with an alcoholic dude like bothering her, didn't mesh well to me. It felt like it wasn't even... didn't need to be in there. But the bigger issues stem from the way how Steve Trevor comes back and what him and Wonder Woman do together, and another character that I won't name, who really has no choice in a lot of the things that take place here. But I'll just say it. Spoiler warning, so if you don't want to hear this part, get out now. But the fact Steve Trevor comes back, pretty much hijacks this body, not of his own free will, and not of the other dude's free will, and it's never really clarified whether this well, I guess it's really clarified in the end when Wonder Woman interacts with this guy and he doesn't recognize her or anything. So he's not in there. Okay, so he doesn't know that they sleep together. Steve Trevor inhabiting this body, and Wonder Woman's not at all concerned as she wants to keep Steve around, even if it means this guy being hijacked for his whole life. And it doesn't explain where he is, why Steve Trevor's riding his body, but obviously he's not there. And when Wonder Woman rides his body, that could be considered rape, taking advantage of somebody while they're unconscious. So there's just a few things in here that are pretty eyebrow raising, and I'm just wondering how certain people are going to react to it. I, for one, though, did not enjoy this movie. It was really light on the action, heavy on the cheese, very long-winded, a really long movie. And while all that's like used for these building blocks that flesh out characters and set up their story, it feels like it just all goes to hell in the third act. It's just an unsatisfying disappointment, and I'm honestly shocked that it could be such an unsatisfying disappointment when the first film was so good. But I did hear things like even though the third act wasn't that great in the first movie, because some of the scenes, the like CGI stuff, and just the execution, but this film I find worse. It's like really hell-bent on delivering a message, an inspiring message that really, a global inspiring message that just breaks DCEU continuity. It raises a bunch of questions within the film itself, within the reality of what they're doing. It didn't work for me at all. If you want to check out that review, my lighting is bad, but I pretty much I do highlight the positives, the negatives, give you my personal bias, and I do point out the fact there's certain things in here that some people aren't going to respond too well to. But I'm not going to praise this movie like a lot of other people. With the early reviews that I've noticed for movies like this, well, the early reviews for like Wonder Woman, I found were pretty positive. They didn't really, they did like brush across negative stuff, but they didn't really flesh out how bad the negative stuff actually is. And it felt like maybe to maintain early access or whatever, some people do that. I'm not saying that a lot of early reviewers did in fact do that, but this film's plummeting in the rating score. So is Wonder Woman 3 actually going to happen? Because there has been some doubt from Patty Jenkins herself that this film would happen, and the way this one turned out, I don't think most people are going to respond to it as well as they did the last one, because the last one was much greater. But it's in doubt now that Wonder Woman will actually get a third film. I'm not sure to what degree, but we'll see how this works out now that everybody's allowed to talk about it freely, now that it's out there and people can talk about it for what it is, and instead of like early access shields or whatever, people that just want to give everything a positive spin, even when there's some pretty negative stuff in there. But let me know your thoughts and opinions on this movie, because I was really disappointed, shockingly disappointed. I wasn't expecting to be so disappointed. It's not that it's like a horrid, god-awful film. There's none of that crap in there about a Trump stand-in. It's not like overtly preachy in the feminist department. There's really... It's just kind of a mediocre, average at best film. There are some scenes in there that are pretty cool. There are some things they do in there that are pretty cool. Spoiler warning: Wonder Woman gets to fly. They do have like a reference to the whole invisible plane thing. Wonder Woman's invisible plane. They did some things in there pretty well, but there are other things, and there is a Linda Carter cameo. But I didn't like it. The movie, average at best. And so let me know your thoughts and opinions. Very good one here. Eventually we will like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. Help promote and rank up my channel and stay awesome. Rock on.